Usually when you walk past a construction site, you expect a closed loop.
Right, like there's a start date and end date.
Exactly. I mean, sure, there's some inevitable delays, but eventually the scaffolding comes down. But imagine a project so complex, it actually outlives the grandfather who saw the foundation poured, the father who saw the walls go up, and, well, maybe even you.
Yeah, it's pretty mind-boggling when you put it like that.
Welcome to this custom deep dive, by the way. Today, our mission is to explore how a staggering 144-year architectural triumph perfectly mirrors an ancient biblical text about rejection and ultimate victory.
Yeah, we're unpacking the newly completed Tower of Jesus Christ at Antoni Gaudi's Sagrada Familia, right alongside Psalm 118.
And the sheer scale of the survival story is what's so fascinating to me. I mean, finishing that central tower, the absolute highest point of the basilica, exactly 100 years after Gaudi died, that is a monumental milestone.
It really is. But getting here was anything but a straight line. I think a lot of people just assume Gaudi conceived this whole masterpiece from scratch.
Right, like he just walked up to an empty lot and started drawing.
Exactly, but he wasn't even the original architect. The project started in 1882 under a guy named Francisco de Paula del Villar. And he envisioned just a standard run-of-the-mill Gothic church on what was then just an empty plot on the outskirts of Barcelona.
Wait, really? Just a basic church on the edge of town?
Yeah, pretty much. But Villar actually quit after just 1 year over massive disagreements about material costs.
Oh, wow.
So Gaudi takes over and completely scraps that standard design.
Yeah.
He wanted the interior to feel like a forest. And to do that, he didn't just draw pictures, he engineered entirely new architectural forms based on nature.
Using like hyperbolic geometry and stuff, right?
Mimicking how trees actually branch out to support immense weight. But then, the Spanish Civil War hits in 1936.
Oh, man, that was when the anarchists broke in, right?
Yeah. They destroy the workshop, smash all those intricate plaster models, and just burn the drawings.
Which is wild. It makes me think of an analogy, like a symphony where the original composer's sheet music is burned right after they play the first movement.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, and then the subsequent generations of musicians have to somehow deduce the rest of the entire symphony based purely on the acoustic echoes or, the mathematical patterns left behind in those first few notes. Like a chaotic, multi-generational relay race where the baton is repeatedly dropped into the mud.
Dropped in the mud through wars and pandemics even.
Exactly, yet the runners stubbornly refuse to quit.
And that's exactly how they did it. Without blueprints, finishing a building that defies traditional geometry seemed totally impossible. But later architects sifted through the rubble to collect these shattered shards of Gaudi's plaster models.
That sounds so tedious.
It was. But because his underlying geometry was so strict and mathematically perfect, they were actually able to reverse engineer his final vision from those fragments.
That is incredible.
Yeah, and in recent decades, they even used aeronautical design software to piece those mathematical puzzles back together.
But even then, they faced massive modern hurdles. Like when COVID-19 hit, it didn't just pause the work, it completely severed their funding model.
Right, because it relies entirely on private donations and ticket sales.
Yeah. Yet, they kept finding ways to pick up those shattered pieces and push forward. So you have a project that starts as this discarded basic design on the edge of town, gets its blueprints literally reduced to dust, and yet somehow becomes the cornerstone of Barcelona's entire identity.
Which is a mechanism of survival that brings us directly to our second source, Psalm 118.
Yes. The parallel here is just profound.
It really is. In the text, the psalmist describes being completely surrounded by enemies, swarming like bees is how they put it.
Like bees, yeah.
And being pushed right to the brink of collapse.
Yeah.
Yet he prevails, writing the stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone.
Okay, I have to push back here philosophically for a second. If God is the ultimate architect of this salvation, why build with a rejected stone in the first place?
That's a fair question.
Wouldn't starting with a flawless, universally accepted foundation just save everyone a whole lot of trouble?
It seems counterintuitive, sure. But using a flawless stone would imply that the strength came from the material itself, or, from human engineering.
Ah, I see where you're going with this.
Right. By choosing the marginalized, the stone everyone else just threw away in the rubble, it proves that true value isn't determined by the initial builder's flawed judgment. It's determined by the architect's final design.
Wow. So just as an initially dismissed building project became this global marvel, the text points to God using a rejected stone, Jesus Christ, as the cornerstone of salvation.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? I think these sources challenge you to look inward. When you are feeling surrounded, overwhelmed, or frankly just rejected, like a shattered plaster model in a war zone.
Right, we've all been there.
Yeah, you have to ask yourself, what cornerstone are you building your identity, your decisions, and your future upon?
Because it's about trusting the structural integrity of your foundation, even when the construction process feels entirely chaotic, uncertain, or just marginalized by the people around you.
Absolutely. Which brings us right back to that never-ending construction site in Barcelona. We want to leave you with a final thought to ponder.
A little something to chew on.
Yes. The Sagrada Familia's central tower was completed a full century after its architect died. If the most meaningful structures in your own life won't be fully finished during your lifetime, well, how does that change the way you lay your bricks today?